few things have happened in the last 24 hours involving a couple of YouTube personalities involved in the nerdosphere. And I want to talk about both of them, not because they're directly related. I guess there is kind of a little bit of a thread line to connect the two in terms of transitioning from one story to the next. But I think the two of them do a good job of explaining why I don't like either the right or the left. Starting off, the Quartering, also known as Unsleeved Media, is a Magic the Gathering channel. Um, I first came across him through Sargon of Akkad. He's had a lot of issues with the social justice crowd and all that kind of stuff. Well, apparently he's been at Gen Con this year, which is a gaming convention. And while not even at the convention, he's like at a bar or something afterwards, talking with some people, maybe doing like a meet and greet kind of thing from what I gathered from what he was saying. Someone comes up and says, hey, what's up? Pleased to meet you. He turns around to shake his hand. The guy just starts punching him over and over and over again. Gets away. He's thinking of leaving Gen Con, and the cops aren't apparently going to be able to do much of anything, and no one, his witnesses don't want to get involved, and it's just kind of a shitty situation. And yet another example of us. Apparently, we don't know anything specific about the guy who attacked him, but one can assume that he's hyped up on leftist thinking to have gotten him to a state where he wanted to attack the guy over, I guess, his YouTube videos, or having once said that cosplayers are just wearing lingerie, or whatever it is that's so terribly offensive about the guy. The left seems to be, and this has been going on for a while, since there's an entertainment angle to this, I feel like it's appropriate to bring it up because my channel is not like a political channel, although their intersectionality being the word of the age, can't always get away from it, even if I want to mainly just talk about Star Trek and toys and shit like that. So for a couple of years now, pretty much since, and slightly before even the Trump election, the left seems to be working itself into a state of a frenzy over paranoia and also self-righteousness, kind of all bundled together. And a lot of this, I think, is largely a result of decades of post-World War II propaganda. Namely, we've made a big deal out of the Nazi thing. And the Nazis were bad, don't get me wrong. But they are not the only evil in the world. And they are, I wouldn't even call them the ultimate evil. I mean, plenty of people have done actually much worse since and before then. The thing with the Nazis, though, is they were packaged well. They're very distinctive. And since no one's on their side in any way, shape, or form, they make very convenient and clean bad guys to put into movies and other types of media. If you're trying to sell your film or your TV series or whatever it is to an international audience, having bad guys that are Muslim terrorists or Russian gangsters or the Chinese triad, there's that loose possibility that someone in that foreign market might be like, well, why are the only people in your movie that reflect our side of the world bad guys, kind of a thing. No one's ever going to say that about Nazis, and so it's real easy to make movies about World War II stuff, and you get to shoot Nazis. Video games, a ton of video games, you shoot Nazis. Comic books come up with reasons. I mean, the whole Captain America Hydra thing. It's a simple, easy guy you feel good punching, and no one's going to complain at you for having done it. Except after 70 years of that, after 70 years of the Nazis being basically a defunct and dead thing, we've been left with this Nazi paranoia that's totally unjustified. Yes, there are such a thing as neo-Nazis, and by and large, all they are is a very small ethnic gang that exists mainly in America's jail system as an answer to the other ethnic gangs in America's jail system. I they're filling a void. If they weren't there, I guess maybe it'd be a KKK problem in America's jails or something. But neo Nazis took the slot, so whatever. But I don't really view them as like a political movement, or they're no more a threat to taking over this country than the Mexican mafia or the Crips. That's not what they are. They might have some sort of philosophical attachment to National Socialism, but they're not National Socialists. They're not really Nazis. Hence, they call themselves neo-Nazis. If you are something, you don't need to call yourself a neo that thing. You would just be that thing. But speaking of Nazis and Hollywood using Nazis as bad guys, that brings us to Star Wars, our most famous space Nazi series of all. And how it seems that the right-wing fandom aren't all that much better than the left-wing fandom. Albeit, in this instance, no one was punched. The right wing seems to be a little bit more smarter about maintaining a defensive posture and generally trying not to be the ones to throw the first punch, which is smart. In our modern society, a lot has changed since the Civil War. Our military has been restructured in such a way that it's been kind of impossible to actually have a civil war. We could have an insurrection, you can have some sort of simmering revolt. But right now, the way things are right now is probably the worst the quote unquote second civil war is going to get, because our military is never going to start partitioning off chunks of the country and start fighting itself over those territories. That's not how it is. If things ever really get bad, the military comes involved, it's going to shut down whichever side started this. And the side that started it is probably not going to be the one in power. So basically, whether you're a right-winger or a left-winger, and you want the revolution, whatever brand of revolution you want, don't fucking do it. Because all you're going to do is enshrine your opponents in power for like at least a century. And since the left is the one getting all like, oh my God, Nazis everywhere, let's smash windows and punch random people on YouTube for their opinion. Well, guess what? You're going to enshrine republicanism and conservatism in power for a long time. The more people on the left are trying to continue this wave that they got going on. But anyway, though, as I'm saying, the right wing is starting to fall into this trap of after the James Gunn thing, they've learned, they've gotten a taste in their mouth of what it's like to use social justice warrior tactics against them. And I think there's a danger of that once getting that bit in their teeth, they're just going to run off with it and start doing their own brand of witch hunts, except for them, it's all going to be like anti-pedophile instead of anti-racism. There's a danger in calling too many people pedophiles that aren't pedophiles, the same way that the left has a danger of calling too many people racists who aren't racists. You're devaluing the word. And in both cases, these are both serious things. Maybe we don't want to devalue them by just throwing the label at everyone. So anyway, Mundane Matt apparently was on a High Council stream. The High Council is Geeks and Gamers, World-Class Bullshitters, and Comic Artist Pro Secrets. And apparently Mundane Matt had some negative things to say about some of the stuff Ethan Van Sciver has been doing. He's Comic Artist Pro Secrets, and I myself am not 100% on actually the entire High Council's kind of been slowly turning me off, really. But apparently Mundane Matt did a bad thing and said some no-nos. And the Comicsgate fans have annoyed him into issuing an apology video and taking down another one of his videos. Does that sound at all familiar? What are you guys doing? If you become your enemy, then you are your own enemy. Walking a moral line and maintaining a high ground is hard. That's why people who have real principles are admired, because it's not easy. It's not easy at all, because in many cases you have to stand there and allow people to do things to you that you will not allow yourself to do, not only just to them but to anyone, because you're taking a moral stance of saying this is wrong, people shouldn't do that, and no matter how much they're doing it to me, I'm not going to budge and start doing it back. And so all this right wing online outrage stuff. Well, guess what, guys? You can't use that as a complaint anymore when people on the left are harassing people off Twitter and getting them fired. If you're doing it too, you've ceded any stance you might have had of having the upper hand morally in that situation. So congratulations, keep it up. Hopefully, the sane people will realize that both sides are just a cacophonous gang of ne'er-do-wells and power seekers who don't really give a shit about any of the platforms that they're trying to stand on to sell themselves to get your support. Most people in the world are really just motivated for money and influence, and that's all they want. It's my problem with Comicsgate, and why I don't blame Mundane Matt for going in there and being a little critical of the High Council in any way towards Star Wars or comics or whatever. Ethan Van Sciver might be selling you a quality comic in Cyberfrog, but it's still just a dumb Ninja Turtles ripoff. I have vague memories of Cyberfrog from the 90s, back when I was into comics real heavy, and not reading it because it was just like, oh, this is just rip-off Ninja Turtle shit. And the other comics, like the new one that his other friend that he's like trying to help promote, Red Rooster, about a guy dressed as a chicken. If the next Comicsgate product that they put out and promote is about a cow, I'm going to be 100% sure that they're just trolling you people. They don't care about any of your agendas or any of the things you want to see. They don't really give a shit. They just know that you have money and the left has been tweaking you off. And so they're hoping to capitalize that to get you to give them their money. But are you really getting what you're fucking worth out of it? Comics about cows and chickens, apparently. But oh yeah, Mundane Matt's the bad guy. Whatever.